Hi, my name is Pat Casey. I own Peak State Fit in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today I'm going to take you through a 15-minute low back decompression routine that will help you feel a little bit better on the bike and hopefully help you with your transitions from your seated job or everyday tasks to your desired sport. A few things that you can use in today's session. A lot of it would be performed on the floor. So a yoga mat is great. There will be a few movements that we incorporate a band. And I like to have a prop, chair, table, a standing desk, all work famously. So we'll get started. Starting out, first movement we're going to do is called a founder. We're going to start with our feet slightly wider than shoulder width, pretty wide, toes forward. Outside edges of the feet are going to stay parallel with our mat. So it's going to be a slightly internally rotated position. We're just going to start with 10 to 15 hinges. We're keeping our spine long and our breath full on this. So as we extend out, we're going to join our fingertips together and then stand back to center. We're going to inhale on the way out, exhale on the way back, each time expanding, elevating, creating more and more space within the spine. So we'll go 10 to 15 at your own pace. You'll feel a slight stretch in the hamstrings, loading the glutes, but again, we're not creating flexion from our spine. It's all loading the hips back, bringing the chest and hands forward to counterbalance. Think about your feet. We're creating good pressure into the floor with 3 points of contact with our big toe, our pinky toe, and our heel. Think about creating a little bit more length all the way through the crown of your head every time you stand up. Maintain that chin back, long back of your neck position. We'll go 3 more. In through the nose, out through the mouth each time. Pull that belly button in a little bit closer to your spine. This will be a theme that we carry throughout our session today, creating that nice full breath, expansive, creating space, and then contraction, using the abdominal muscles to expel all of that stale air and use that musculature to elongate our spine. Next, we're going to take our band. Starting to decompress the hips, starting out by activating our tensor fascia line, sort of allow this isometric contraction to help us relieve some of that tension around the posterior hip, the sides of our hips, areas that tend to get really tight from our seated lifestyle. So again, starting point, our toes are going to stay forward. If you absolutely need to toe out a little bit, that's okay. The big component here is making sure that we're activating the lateral hip and not the quads. So if this means you have to stand a little bit narrower or you have to stand a little bit wider, just gauge it based on feel. So starting point again, outside edges of the feet are parallel. We're going to put our band on and think about drawing that band apart. Here we're going to go through 3 different depths for about 10 seconds. So starting, you can bring your hands forward. You can have your hands on your hips. It's a little easier to get to the depth with your fingertips joined together forward. So we'll take 10 seconds. Again, make sure that you're drawing that band apart. 2, 1. After 10 seconds, lower down just a bit more, about 10 more degrees, bend at the knee. Shaking a little bit here, that's okay. We're going to go to a next depth, 10 more seconds. Should feel a little bit fatiguing. 3, 2, 1. If you can, go 1 more depth. Make sure you maintain tension, pushing that band outward. And press into the floor, stand back up. We'll go through that one more time, making sure we're just activating that lateral hip. You can make some side steps One of those hips will normally be a little bit tighter, a little bit more active. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're doing this stuff, but normally if you have one dominant side, as most of us do, it will carry a little bit more tension. So again, we're going to go through that 10 seconds each, 4 times. Start out nice, just loaded position. Set your form. 3, 2, 1. A little bit lower. Hips back. Keep those knees from going over those toes. A little bit lower. Load the hips back. Keep drawing the band out. One more time. A little bit lower. Keep that tension in your hips. Don't allow the pelvis to go under. We're maintaining good lumbosacral alignment, keeping that pressure on the band. Keep breathing fully. 3, 2, 1. Press into the floor. Don't lose that contraction with the band. Stand back up. Awesome. Now to our backs. We're going to lay back on the mat, flat. We're going to go through a supine decompression. This will load your adductors, load your hamstrings, and allow a little bit of decompression to that SI joint. We're going to combine this with an 8-point plank. So we'll do this 3 times as we are on our backs. I'll take you through it. We'll flip over to our bellies, take you through it, and then just alternate as such. So starting point here, create a nice long position with your body. Begin by unlocking your knees, bringing your knees about 8 inches off of the mat. Heels apart by 4 inches. Bring the toes together. So the knees are squeezing, the toes are squeezing, and your ankles are in dorsiflexion. You're pulling your toes towards your head. Create a nice half sphere of tension, fingertips on the mat next to your hips. Elevate your elbows and load down into your shoulders. This should allow you to feel a little bit of pressure into the mid-back, into that upper back space, your serratus posterior. This is where you're also going to feel a little bit of contraction when you are expanding and breathing into your back body. So that serratus posterior superior should be active here when we're breathing. Chin back, back neck is long. We're going to go through 5 breaths. About a 20 to 30% contraction, squeezing the knees, dorsiflexing the feet, squeezing the toes together. Think big breaths. Each time, getting a little bit bigger at the rib cage. Each exhale, pulling that belly button in towards your spine. One more, increase your contraction with those knees. Finish your exhale. Shake it all out. Beautiful. Flip over to our backs. I'm going to bring my head forward so I can demonstrate. This first setup for the 8-point plank is really important. We'll roll through it the next time. Elbows are 3 to 4 inches ahead of your shoulders. So we're not stacking the elbows like we might in a normal plank position. We're going to have them a little bit further forward, taking the pressure away from the shoulders. Our 8 points of contact are our hands, our elbows, our knees, and our feet. So as we go through this movement, we will elevate and bring everything off of the mat. But it's important that we follow these cues. Start by pulling your head back. Back neck is long, chin is back, as high as it will go. Next, lead with your thoracic spine. Your shoulders will come up. Here you'll feel a little bit of a tremble. Use traction from your knees towards your hands and engage your abdominal muscles, and we're going to begin lifting the hips up. The hips will only come up about 6 inches, and that's okay. We'll stay here for 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down by bringing the hips, belly button, mid back, and shoulders relax. Okay, so that's 1. We're going to flip back to our supine decompression, and then we'll just roll right into that 8-point plank. I'll just flip over here so you can see this from another angle. Again, it's setting up. Anytime I say zip the legs up, that begins the prompt. Unlock the knees, knees together, toes together, ankles dorsiflex. So this is consistent. We're going to continue working through our breath, hands to the side, and then once we begin this, we're going to elevate our hands into a sphere of tension off the line of the heart. 5 breath cycles, long and slow, longer and slower than the last time. And I want you to be mindful of the difference that it makes having your arms overhead or in this position in front of your body. This should be a nice subtle isometric contraction. Increase slightly with the squeeze at your knees, dorsiflexion at the ankles. And the elbows are active here as well. You're squeezing down with the elbows, loading your latissimus muscles, drawing the shoulders away from your ears, creating length at your back neck. 1 more. Squeeze. Push all that air out. Hands back to the sides, shake it all out. Flip back over. Elbows ahead of our shoulders, fingertips touching the mat in front of us. Make sure that you create a nice long position with your body. We don't want to get too scrunched up or end up in an awkward position with our lumbar spine. The idea here is to decompress and to use our core stabilizing muscles to create space for us. So now, big breath, chin back, back neck is long, shoulders come up, mid back comes up, hips come up. 15 seconds. Lower down with the hips, lower down with the belly. Allow everything to relax. Good. One more time. Back to our backs. This time we're going to add in just a little bit of hamstring contractions. So more like an anchored bridge. We're just going to use some traction with our heels to pull the heels towards the hips, contracting the hamstrings concentrically and allowing a little bit more integration towards the bum, towards our glutes, and therefore alleviating a little bit, hopefully, a little bit of some of that tension that's been holding you back. So our knees are going to come off the mat just a little bit more, about 10 inches off the mat. Heels in the same position, about 4 inches apart. We're going to start with our hands down to the sides. Again, this is adding a new element to the movement. So let's just keep our nice tension, closed kinetic chain with our hands next to the hips. Chin back, back neck is long. Really find that length here. On an inhale, we're going to begin our contraction, and along with this squeeze of our knees inward, we're also going to begin by pulling those heels towards our hips. You'll notice my hips are coming off the mat by about 2 inches. That's all that you really need. If you just perform this and contract your hamstrings, that's okay too. The more advanced movement incorporates this little bit of a lift. If you can lift those hips up, we're only doing it by squeezing those hamstrings with the heel traction towards our hips. We're not squeezing our glutes. So really be mindful of how you're creating that elevation. It should just be by the pull not by any kind of a push or hip extension movement. Keep your dorsiflexion, keep squeezing those knees together while you're pulling those heels towards your hips. One more breath. Lower down slowly, shake it all out. Excellent. One more time through our 8-point plank. This is a fantastic movement, by the way, and if you haven't explored the 8-point plank Tabata, it is a fantastic challenge. A little more challenge than we're trying to do today, but this is the last round. All right, 8 points of contact, hands, elbows, knees, and feet. Inhale, pull the head back, shoulders back, mid back comes up, hips come up. Let's stay here for 20 seconds. Find that length. The crown of your head should be protruding forward while you're maintaining good abdominal connection. Five seconds. Lower the hips, belly, chest. Excellent. All right. We're going to come back to a standing position. We're going to come back to our lead in with the founder movement. We're going to add a little bit of length and we're going to incorporate our anchor. So we're going to integrate a little bit of mid to upper back connection. We're going to use a little bit of traction and we're going to find some length in the mid back so that we can sort of finish our cycle with some intention. So our feet are going to be really wide now. So we're adding a little bit more width. This is about to the point where you might feel a little bit of adductor pull, a little bit of stretch. Stand nice and tall. Like to use our shaka signs as a measuring stick. So creating nice amount of space between your lowest rib and the top of your pelvis. With a nice soft bend in the knee. Good 3 points of contact on each foot. We're going to bring the hips back, hinging the hips, and our hands forward. My prop's a little far. So bring those fingertips to your prop, and the goal here is to load back into your hips, creating a nice amount of length in your spine, but not creating any flexion. Everything should be nice and neutral. So we're going to stay here for 5 nice long breath cycles. And just explore a little bit here. So you should probably feel some of your back of your shoulder getting a little bit of stretch, back of the hamstrings, maybe your lower leg is talking a little bit. Just breathe into those spaces wherever you're feeling that tension. Allow your body to sort of move and relax in this position. If it's too intense of a stretch, just come up and out of it a little bit. The maintaining points of contact too, we should maintain our knee behind our ankle. So the goal should be also to maintain this load in the hips and hamstrings. We're not loading the knee and the quad. It's very posterior chain centric, the back of our bodies. Once you've gotten around some comfort here, try mobilizing a little bit of your lower leg. Pull those ankles up into dorsiflexion, maintaining this subtle amount of internal rotation. Good full, big breaths into the back body, expanding through your ribs and using your abdominal muscles to expel air. 2 more breaths. To come out of this, place our hands to our shins, pull the spine into a nice straight aligned position, slide back up. Shake it out. Have a great rest of your day. Think about a few of those movements and just try to incorporate them on the regular. Guarantee you'll feel a little bit better.